Core memory unlocked. Doing meditations and shit. I've never really thought about core memories, or the theory behind the core memories. There's some kind of traumatic event or a serious event when you're a kid that happens that causes a behavior in you as an adult, and there's not really an explanation. Now, the behavior itself can be corrected, but there's another form of therapy where they actually go back and review the memory that caused this core attribute. I think I now know exactly why I straight up hate emotionally stunted people and have extreme prejudice against them, outside of the fact that they've literally terrorized me my entire life. Emotionally stunted, I guess we're going to read it again. The superior psychology of the church, the one that gets you beat to death and has your head chopped off, because that's exactly what superior psychology looks like. The one that gets you fucking killed. Chronic self-absorbed, self-preoccupied behavior. They think of themselves first. Limited or complete lack of empathy, lack of guilt or remorse. Disregard for your well-being, your safety, and those you love. They do what feels best. They do not learn from past mistakes and continue to repeat behaviors that have negative consequences. Lack of self-reflection, inability to take your perspective, stand in your shoes. History of conflict and drama in relationships. History of denying reality due to effective realism. Reality is what it feels like versus what it is. History of distorting reality, making up new narratives about situations to deal with it. History of impulsive behavior, more feeling than thinking, so they do what feels best. Enmeshment in relationships instead of emotional intimacy, may focus on physical things versus emotional. They do not do emotional work. They do not know how to repair relationships effectively. And spite brain. There is a lack of forgiveness among this psychology that is part of the relationship type. It is the need to get back at somebody no matter what. And remember, everything is emotional, so when you trigger their emotions, they overreact because they're stupid and don't understand there are more important things like logic and reason that are more important than how you feel. They're not smart enough to understand that. That's why this is a defective psychology. But reality is as it feels to these people, not what it is. So if they pop LSD, they're in control of reality. When I was a kid, my mother took my sister and I to Jamaica. Rode in the back of a 4x4 vehicle type dealie and went to my uncle's house, is where Sadie and Nettie were. I don't remember which lady it was, but during my visit to Jamaica, because I grew up in Florida, and Florida is a very diverse area. When we grew up, we had our friend Alan, who was African. We had our friend Lucas, who I think he was like some type of Latino. I don't really know. I think he was like Latino. And our friend Lenny, who was from Cuba. We had a lot of people. Hey, Billy, we had white kids, John and Billy. They're both white kids that lived in our neighborhood. But the demographic was mostly white-ish, I guess. And when we went to Jamaica, I was a little kid. The best way I can explain what I'm about to say as a little kid, and I know racism's a really touchy subject for imbeciles, but whatever, dude. The fact is we need to talk about it. The conversation needs to happen. This is where white fragility comes from, okay? They're stupid. They're idiots. And everybody involved in racism is an imbecile, by the way. There's one race, the human race. Get over it. This teacher told me one time, she was in class, and she had a black student and a white student talking, and the white student suddenly said to the black student, "Why are you black?" And the black kid looked at his hands, and he said, "I think it's so my parents can identify me." And the white kid said, "Yeah, that makes sense." That is how race works in a mind that's not corrupted by racism and being told you're superior because of the amount of melanin in your skin kind of shit, okay? First of all, if you want to go by general facts, God hates white people. That's why he invented skin cancer, and they have a 90% higher chance of getting it. Your move, Christians. But that's how real kids think about racism. Is it something, the color of your skin is something that is recognized, but it is not significant because it holds nothing to it. It doesn't, you don't look at somebody and automatically know about slavery and all that shit. And to be honest, black slavery was created by the U.S., by the way. Before that, Romans enslaved white people, so there's your fair dinkum on that if you want to get into that stupid shit. But racism is racism, and it does exist, okay? Self-hating black people have been a thing I've had a problem with, and I never really understood why I had that problem, but to understand the story, you also know my father's parents were well-off Indian people, and his mother wanted white grandkids, and the kid that got white grandkids was going to get a whole bunch of money and gold jewelry. So my father married my mom out of greed to have white kids. But this resulted in the members of my dad's family hating black people, and this is, you have to get into colonization to understand this. Basically, when the British found out their food was bland and tasteless, because white people food is bland and tasteless, they went to India to get spices, and then they're like, man, this spice stuff is awesome, so they crowned Queen Victoria and her fat white self Empress of India, and then the East India Trade Company started trading, and then they expanded into the Caribbean, and then the spice trade expanded out there. Meanwhile, the colonizers, the Christian colonizers, took over India, and India's original caste system actually wasn't that bad. Everybody was a part of the system, but everybody was respected, and they were actually upwardly mobile, believe it or not. You didn't just stay in your caste, okay? People moved all the time. It was when the white man got there, they changed the caste system to white people on top of the caste system, and everybody had to be indentured in and junctioned into their station. They're not allowed to change. That's what happened. And that's why India went to shit. Fucking my dad's parents went to Jamaica, and they were explained to basically by the white colonizers, you're the superior people because you're not as black as the Jamaicans. So you're not white, but you should strive to defend white and respect white and love white, and that's how my dad's family got started. My dad's father used to guard the docks with a rifle. It didn't have any bullets in it, and his job was to make sure the local Jamaicans didn't try to steal stuff as Britain stole stuff from them. His job was make sure it was okay for Britain to steal stuff from Jamaica, but it wasn't okay for the Jamaicans to steal their shit back. History's really funny when you look at it. You could literally do a comedy bit about all this stuff. So, yeah. So the racism was indentured into my dad's family. Pretty early on, leading up to me. When we visited Jamaica, I looked around and noticed there was an awful lot of brown people. Pointing out the obvious makes people angry. It's kind of like when you look at a fat person and say they're fat, they get mad. Or if you look at a bald person and say they're bald, they get mad. As a kid, you don't really understand that. It's a bad idea to point out the obvious. Like, one of my favorite big women growing up, I don't remember where, I think it was at like Winn-Dixie. Somebody called her fat, and then she was like, well, thank you, Captain Obvious. Like, probably the best fat chick response ever. But when we were in Jamaica, I made the observation that there were a lot of black people, to which my auntie came over and was pissed. But as a kid, and obviously I'm like undiagnosed autistic, I'm really bad at reading people's emotions. She was pissed about my observation, and then I was like, I don't know why, and I just said, like, I don't think skin color really matters. It was just an observation. But she got mad and went on about how she was superior to all the brown people, and I started laughing because she's a brown person. Like a little kid. Observation. And she instigated this guy named Chad, he's my cousin, Boo Boo, into bashing me in the head with a shovel, and she just kept doing it. And I just also remember her harassing me nonstop. when I was in Jamaica. And I didn't understand what was going on because I'm an idiot, but this is typical emotionally stunted, passive-aggressive behavior where they target somebody that hurted their feelings and they just never get over it. And I realize now my prejudice against emotionally stunted is just this. This is a full-grown person reacting like a small child to a comment a child made. Okay? You should probably almost never take anything a kid says seriously. If you are an adult, okay, if you ever get called fat by a kid and you break down and cry and then try to assault the child, you're immature. Okay, if a child says something that hurts your feelings, fucking ignore them. I've babysitted my nephews and cousins all the time, and I've had them talk shit all the fucking time to me, and I just ignore them. Okay? This is what happens when you're emotionally stunted. If you find yourself arguing with a kid, you're not an adult. Alright? But this is what happened. I remember a series of other things she did, from like pulling my hair to like just genuinely harassing me, and I didn't understand why I was being harassed most of the stay in Jamaica. It was really hot and there were giant cockroaches, and I was kind of an idiot and I was easily distracted. I'm kind of a brick. Autistic people don't really pick up on subtle cues, so it's actually very hard to coerce us into doing things because we're kind of retarded. So she was acting out, and she acted out the entire visit in Jamaica, and I didn't understand that. She had my cousin, they called him Boo Boo at the time. He kept bashing me in the head with the shovel, and I was literally being driven insane by this action, and she would just cackle and laugh, and then she'd get him to do it again and again and again and again. But it was when my Uncle Charlie, he figured out what was going on, and he came to me, and my dad's family does this. He's, Bobby Hodge, I gotta talk to you. I was like 3 or 4 at the time, mind you. This was like 93 or 94, maybe 95. 1995. And he was like, I gotta talk to you. I wanted you to come to Jamaica to see your culture and see your heritage, and you got a really bad experience because you brought up skin tone. People are really sensitive about their skin tone. Your auntie believes that she has nothing in this world because of her skin tone. She believes that everything in her life went bad because her parents loved white people and wanted white kids, and she didn't have white kids, therefore she's a loser. And you're white, and she envies that. And everybody on the island envies that. And I was like, that's stupid. I'm not even white. And he was like, Bobby Hodge, listen. I was like, okay. And he was like, don't ever, in any situation, bring up skin tone. Because he said, there are white people who hate black people, and there are black people who hate white people, rightfully. But the worst type of black person you will ever come across is a self-hating black person, because they are self-immiserating, and instead of admitting they're making themselves miserable, they go around making everybody else miserable. Yeah. And he explained that to me, and my Uncle Charlie was a great man. I think he died of dementia not too long ago. And when I was growing up, I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but I remembered I absolutely loved that guy, and I didn't know why, and I realized now is because he gave me clarity on a situation I didn't understand. I didn't understand why Boo Boo kept bashing me in the head with the shovel. I didn't understand why my auntie was being a cunt, and then she would act all nice and friendly with anybody else that came over. She was buddy-buddy with my mom. She was buddy-buddy with everybody. But when it came to me, she acted out. And I realize now it was because of something I said, which, okay, but I don't, in my own values, in my own world, I don't believe in acting up against a kid that said words you don't like. If if you go back to that Rachel Johnston's brother on the first video of the serial killer shit, he literally went on a Nazi, like, white supremacist rant, and I just ignored him. Because it's not the kid's fault, it's the culture. The culture can be destructive. A church can be destructive, okay? And when you know the history, you understand why these people did what they did, but this kind of feeds into the 92 Wendy's, when I was working with a bunch of self-hating black people who had a serious fucking problem with me, and my father isn't any different. He is a self-hating black man that hates other black people. I'll tell you one more short story that still cracks me up to this day about my dad's family. They're brown, they're black, whatever you want to call them. And I have an auntie, I'm not going to say her name because she's still around, and we were at this Bell's outlet store, and she got into an argument with, like, the most generic, like, black lady you could ever get into an argument with. And they started fighting, and they sent over this lady with, like, one of those store walkie-talkies to break them up. They got into an argument, and my aunt just started calling her the N-word, just started screaming the N-word at her, and the black lady started calling her the N-word, and these people, they were the same shade of brown. If you walked up with the Home Depot swatches, same shade of brown, okay? And the lady gets over there, and she starts breaking up the fight and diffusing the situation and de-escalating, doing a really good job. And then the guy on the walkie-talkie goes, "Are those two dumb black bitches, those two dumb big black bitches done fighting yet?" And my auntie lost her mind. She fucking lost her mind. Fucking flipped the fuck out. I'm not black. I'm not black. This is the same view that you need to understand in skin color. When the pale super white, we'll call them the easily sunbaked white people, come into contact with tan white people, they are no longer people. They're tan people. They're brown. They're black. Okay. If you look like me with the beard, my favorite pastime in Georgia with my brother is we go to Cracker Barrel and we make white people nervous, and the way they act is absolutely ridiculous. They seize up. They look like they're trying to keep a turd in. And I used to love saying Aloha Snack Bar because it made everybody nervous. It was funny. To me, it was funny. The way people act about racism is ridiculous, but whatever. And I get, oh god, serious, shut up, man. Fuck you. It's the way you handle it. It's the reason why nothing good ever happens from racism. But, yeah. These are just... This is a core memory of why I can't stand emotionally stunted people. And why they just make me sick to my stomach. And I go on about how I just want to fucking kill them. Because when you're a full-grown adult and you're bullying a child, that child can't do anything. And this also led into other things in my life. Like, I will start or I will try something, but as soon as somebody gets in the way and fucks it up, I immediately just drop it. I just give up on it. And I give up on it because that's what happened when I was a kid. My father used to, I've said this before, my father used to eat my ice cream every time we went to Dairy King. He would eat my ice cream, and eventually I just gave up on getting ice cream because he would eat it and be like, oh, he's so little, he can't do anything about it, and then the defects got called on him, and he found out that was cruelty to a child. You can't do that to a child. And that used to be my life, but also this is a thing, my dad's family is emotionally stunted for whatever reason. There's a lot of heavy metals in Jamaica. Arsenic is most often found in the soil, and I remember a story of my dad eating an arsenic pellet when he was a kid, which should have killed him, but didn't. So I think that shit's related to the emotionally stunted, but my father's emotionally stunted because his father hung himself. But I guess get your values in line. Yeah.